signature cards, or EMV, which stands for Developers Europay, MasterCard, and Visa. Whatever you call it, they all have microchips embedded in them. Users will now slide these cards into chip-enabled terminals and either input a PIN number or sign their signature when paying for items, instead of swiping their traditional magnetic strip credit cards. While this is new technology for the U.S., these chip technology cards have been used for years in other countries across the world.
We are way behind the rest of the world. If the rest of the world is using iPods, we're on 8-track tapes. That's how far behind we are.
The National Retail Federation has been advocating for chip technology in the U.S. for years because it's much harder to hack, and it made a big push after the massive data breaches at Target and Neiman Marcus in 2013.
Whenever the chip card is used with a chip-enabled terminal, a unique one-time code is created for the purchase to be approved. This is nearly impossible for counterfeit cards to duplicate.
Of course, this security feature currently only protects those using their cards in the store, not those paying for purchases online. Currently, consumer losses from fraudulent charges are paid out by either the bank or the payment processor. But after October 1st, creditcards.com says the liability will shift to whichever party is the least EMV compliant. Walmart, Target,
Swipe a debit or credit card, but it's something we may not be doing much longer. If you haven't gotten it yet, you'll soon be getting debit and credit cards with a tiny embedded chip. They're called EMV cards, which stands for Europay, MasterCard, and Visa. They're way safer than magstrip cards. Why? Because if someone can read your magstrip, they can counterfeit your card. With an embedded chip, not possible. Now, you may have heard that you're supposed to have these cards in your hand by October 1st, that it's a rule. That is not true. What is true, however, is that if a merchant doesn't have the proper equipment to accept these new cards by October 1st, they're the ones who are on the hook for any fraud, not the bank. Something else you need to know: how to use these cards. If you've got a chip card, you no longer swipe. You dip. Put your card into this slot and leave it there. That's how the machine reads the chip. Now, what if your merchant doesn't have a chip-enabled machine? It's cool, you can still swipe your card. That's why there's a mag strip on it. But if you can dip it, do it, because it's safer. When you dip, you may also sign. One day a pen may replace your signature like a debit card transaction, but that is still in the future. So there you have it. If you've got the chip, you do the dip. If there's no slot, then you swipe away.
Companies in the world, including Procter & Gamble, including Johnson & Johnson, Kimberly-Clark, International Paper, big companies, Coca-Cola. These guys should be thinking about products, and yet on here they're naming human beings. So this technology, with all of this backing, by the way, the Department of Defense and the U.S. Postal Service are also backers of this technology. The fact that they're putting human beings on their slides and their internal documents as a way to utilize this technology is a little bit worrisome. And definitely by putting one of these numbers into one of these chips and implanting it into a human being, you could verify them. You could have a number associated with them. You could link that number up to a database, and you could require them to present that in order to buy or sell for the reasons that we talked about. The company producing these chips is a company called Alien Technology, and you can't really see it very well, but it's got, I think, one of the creepiest logos I've ever seen. It's black, it's got red on a black background, it has what looks like almost 3 claw marks sort of streaking across the screen, and in fact, most of the imagery associated with this technology is quite dark. At a conference I attended about 2 months ago, there was a gentleman from Philip Morris talking about this technology. He was talking to a bunch of global executives from global companies who deal with moving products around. And he was telling them, you know, when this comes out, when we have radio devices and everything, and we're tracking everything all over the planet, you're going to need to really change the way you run your warehouse in your back room. And do you know what he said? And he meant this in terms of you're going to have to totally change the way you do business and revolutionize your thinking about moving products. But his statement was, this technology will destroy our way of life. The purpose of this technology is to destroy our way of life. Now, it's interesting because in his saying that, the whole room went silent. By the way, these are people who love the idea of tracking things as they move around. But even then, the room went silent because that was a pretty heavy statement. And I don't think he meant that it's going to absolutely destroy our way of life as we live day to day. But I also don't think he realized the symbolic importance of what he had said. Because if we do actually number every human being, and if we do number every physical item, and if we can keep track of all of that through databases and through computer systems, it will actually destroy our way of life. There will be no more freedom. There will be no more privacy or no more ability to walk around and even talk to other people freely, because your every move will be monitored and tracked. There's the chips. And these devices, as I said, this industry consortium, they've already begun appearing, these radio frequency devices, in consumer products. What you're seeing here is a package of Gillette razor blades that's been equipped with one of these unique numbers, making it trackable from a distance. The purpose here was shoplifting prevention, but ultimately they want to put one of these on every physical item that we buy, meaning that not only would you be identifying yourself with your chip as you made your purchase, but all of the things you bought would also be identified with you, linked to the database. And in essence, it would make it difficult in a world where, let's say, there is the mark of the beast.